And I know we've mentioned New England. They've had a bunch of really good signings. But I'll go to you, Roan, first. Any teams that have impressed you or not impressed you thus far in free agency?
Um, I like Jacksonville's situation.
Hmm.
I think there there's a lot of talk about Urban Meyer. But a buddy of mine brought up a good point. Um, Actually, Lay Dogger's brother, Andrew Parent, gotta give him a little plug because he did bring up a good point. Is people are talking, with Jacksonville, you got to remember Urban Meyer just coming from college. Nobody knows this draft class better than him. Like he's, being in college football for the past few years, he's seen these guys. It's a little bit different when you've been at that level and you've kind of been around these guys to kind of know which guys to go for, especially when you're game planning against some of them. Like I think, they've only made moves on guys that they've really liked. You haven't really seen them reach for anybody yet, and they
All
have
right.
tons of money. So you got to think, you know, going into like there's 11 picks. You're getting Trevor Lawrence. I think they've kind of been patient, which is the right move. Versus some teams like that think, oh, let's spend all this money and go all in, and it's like Urban, he's got a plan. So I can imagine some of the players he's gonna get, on day two, that are gonna turn out to be some studs. So I really like them. Once again, Washington, I thought they had a good off season so far. Um, Other than that, I mean, just kind of waiting to see what happens with Deshaun. I think that's gonna have a domino effect on some moves too. And like John said, with these the comp picks, waiting to see. There's so many cornerbacks still out there, and there's so many teams who need cornerbacks. So I think kind of waiting to see what happens with those is going to kind of let me think, who I think is really the winners. But obviously, I think New England's got to be a number one.
I will say only thing I forgot to mention when we're talking defense. Only thing I didn't like about Jacksonville. I didn't like I didn't like the Shaquille Griffin sign. It's just too much money for a guy that couldn't really play man to man. And remember, just wanted to say I was biggest weaknesses last year was their secondary was outside of Jamal Adams. But we'll see. Maybe Urban can find something. But we'll see what happens to Urban because I know John and I not that high on Urban Meyer. The signing, we'll see how it goes. But John, I'll throw it to you. Any other teams you liked, or any teams you have not liked their moves or lack of moves, because that's also a thing.
Um, for lack of moves, it's a little hard because once again the comp pick situation. So like for the Cowboys, I was like, why are we not engaging in some of these guys? Why are we not trying to sign them early? But I think that's a big reason why, because we have four compensation picks in like the second, third, fourth, and fifth rounds total. We have like one in each round, so uh, lack of moves is a little hard for me. I don't know. I did think, like, for example, maybe a team like Philadelphia might be active. Like, we haven't really heard anything outside of them. I mean, they're moving maybe towards a full rebuild, but it just seems like the real notable moves that they've made were like releasing Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson. So I'm not sure what's going on over there because after last season, I think it's pretty clear they're probably in the worst position in the NFC East, which is not a spot you want to be in with how bad the division was last season. Um, so other than that, I really liked obviously the Patriots offseason so far. Just the complete turnaround of spending that money and Bill Belichick once again just changing his tactics when it comes to building his team. It's going to be interesting to see how they do. Um, I, I still really like Miami getting Will Fuller. I thought Justin Coleman was also a really good signing, cornerback out of Detroit. With the fact that they already have Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, Justin Coleman really doesn't have to do a whole lot outside of maybe be their nickel guy, and even that they had a first round corner last year, so he just provides really good depth. In last year, he was a solid player for Detroit. Um, Arizona, I mean, it feels like we've already kind of talked about them with the JJ Watt stuff, but getting him, getting AJ Green, not overpaying for a guy like Kenyon Drake, I think. I mean, it sounds crazy, but allowing someone like that to walk and not like falling into the trap of overpaying for a running back and committing yourself to a running back, I think that's a smart move. I mean, I'm pretty high on Chase Edmonds. I think he can get the job done as the guy, but also I think they're probably going to address running back in the draft at some point. Um, but yeah, outside of probably the Patriots and the Cardinals, not a whole lot of other teams that really stand out. The Jets are probably a team I'm still keeping my eye on because, like I said, if they get Juju Smith-Schuster, I think that's, I mean, getting him, getting Corey Davis, getting Carl Lawson, the moves they've made, that would be a pretty big offseason, a pretty big swing for the Jets if they can land some solid pieces in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, another guy on the Jets not being talked much, Jared Davis. I felt like he was a very solid linebacker and just he had like two or three and went through two different defensive coordinators and two different completely different schemes, and then now he gets to go to blanking on his name, new coach Robert Sala's defense, and obviously Sala, I think he feels like he can be, not saying he is Fred Warner, but he can play the Fred Warner type role and maybe be something like that. And they also obviously still have C.J. Mosley, obviously if they still keep him, but only other teams. I mean, obviously, I don't sound like a homer. Disappointed in my Packers. I see we're restructuring all these contracts. Yeah, we extend Aaron Jones, but other than that, we're restructuring all these contracts for what? Like, we're not going out there doing anything. We didn't keep Corey Linsley. I understand he needs his money, but even some of these other guys, just low key linemen, wide receivers. Once again, like I mentioned, I wanted Will Fuller, didn't get him. I know we can't probably afford Kenny Galladay, but there's still other wide receivers out there available. We obviously still need in the corner. I wanted to get I know I just kind of crapped on Pat Pete. I wouldn't mind a Pat Pete opposite of Jair or just a Woozier, just a solid cornerback. So because I mean I'm not sure what we're gonna do draft wise, but it would have cleared up what we needed to do draft wise. Kind of like what happened with New England, like we've already mentioned. And they got tight ends, they got wide receivers. They don't need to draft wide receivers. Probably don't need a quarterback, so they can really just do best available, whoever they want, or trade back, get more assets like they typically do. So yeah, I will say just comment last thing on New England. I know we've been all up on them. I will say I think also just a reason they dipped more free agency is also just because of COVID. Like kind of Ron mentioned with Urban Meyer being familiar with these prospects. As opposed to NFL teams like Bill, he might not be comfortable because he's not having as much tape on all these prospects. So he says, you know what, let me go pay the extra amount, get known commodities, and we'll, just because it's been a weird year. So, yeah, I liked that. And yeah, I did kind of like the Jets getting LaMarcus Joyner and a few other pieces too. So that's about all the teams I can think of. We'll see how Arizona plays with Cliff, man. Like we mentioned, like we put on the route tree. If it depends on Cliff. If Cliff can be more creative, I think the AJ Green sign work out because it'll make everything better. If he does what he did last year, it's not going to work out. So, anything else anyone want to add team wise or any free agents?
I'm still trying to think of teams I'm disappointed in.
It's hard. It's always hard because it's free.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that we also haven't heard anything from the Steelers. I mean, they just lost Bud Dupree and Juju Smith-Schuster and James Conner. They tried to get J.J. Watt.
And they lost the line.
Get him. They lost the
Chargers. I forgot the Chargers signed one of their tackles.
And Pouncey retired.
Yeah. Pouncey retired. I mean, Big Ben's coming back, right? That's confirmed that he's coming back.
Yeah, he
took a small pay cut.
It's interesting that they haven't really made any moves so far. I don't know. It seems like all that money that they would have tried to spend on all these different guys. They haven't really done anything of note.
Let me see if it says for how much cap they have.
Yeah, but I think they're also another one of those teams that rely on just, and I think that's what's happening to it. A lot of teams is they're relying on their draft experts to get. You see more and more guys are third and fourth round guys are coming in and getting chances to start some of them. Right. So I think that teams like that who do draft well are kind of like. If with the cap being cut, let's get some rookies and save our money for next year.
I hear that. It's just it also feels like this is the year though that everybody's down to sign a 1-year deal. I mean, obviously a lot of the bigger names they're going after, longer term, but it seems like you could sign a lot of veterans that maybe think this is a winning team. We could potentially make a playoff run with this team that like the Steelers might be interested in. I mean, I'm not a Steelers fan. I don't know all the specificals they have. But I'm especially surprised they haven't, since they were so aggressive about J.J. Watt and then Bud Dupree is now left, that they haven't been a little more aggressive in trying to get another guy opposite of T.J. Watt, who maybe doesn't have to be a big name guy, but get somebody early before all these guys, get off the market.
Yeah, just one last point. I'm on spotcheck.com. I'm not sure how updated this is or how exact, but it says they are projected the Steelers. They say they updated daily. Steelers to cap space. Their amount of cap they have right now is 1 million, so not a lot of room to operate.
Yeah.
There you
But
go.
once again, I'm not sure if that's
Because
completely right
Ben's taking
because,
it all.
and I don't mean to dog anybody on Spot Track right now, but it has Seattle as the most cap space, but it says that they only have one player signed. So I'm not sure if they're either that's an error or maybe Seattle just let everybody go and it's just going to be just Russell. But I will say one more. That is maybe a team. Sorry, last point that didn't have a great offseason. Russell's obviously unhappy. Maybe you go try to get one of these. Get maybe an offensive lineman. He doesn't need receivers. But I know they're trying to get Lenny, but maybe they could have been involved in the Hudson trade that that the Cardinals got get a center, or any one of these guards. Maybe like I'm not sure if
Well, they did just make a trade for a guard.
was
Gabe Jackson they just got.
okay. So they got Gabe Jackson, solid guard, so that's
Yeah.
good. He'll be good for the run game. But still, I mean, even defensively too, though, it seems like they've just lost guys. They lost to Shaquille Griffith, and I know it wasn't high on, but he's still a starter. They let Carlos Dunlap go, so
Yep.
a lot of holes in Seattle.
I wonder if they're a comp situation too.
Probably,
maybe they got a couple.
Well, and
maybe
Seattle
they got a
usually hits
couple
on their
comp
late round
picks.
picks. I'll give them that. They are not very good with their first round picks, and then after the first round, they do pretty well. So maybe, and they don't have a first round
Yeah.
this year, so
Yeah.
we'll see what they do from there. But that's about all. I mean, unless y'all wanted to mention anything, I'm not sure. Go ahead, John.
One more team. Tell me what y'all think and be brutally honest about the Chicago Bears, because all the talk of Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, no offense to Andy Dalton, but he is not either of them. And they settle for Andy Dalton. Allen Robinson is not happy still. Apparently, Kenny Galladay went and visited, but he left, and there's no deal. And now he's visiting the Giants today. And it seems like it's the Bengals and the Giants are kind of the two teams in the running for him. I don't know. It just feels like the Bears, like you said, their coach and GM are sort of on the hot seat, and really all they've done is get Andy Dalton.
So what? I mean, I'll give the Bears this. Wasn't there the rumored deal that they tried to give Seattle? It was like 3 first rounders, a 2nd, and some starters. And I felt like that was a fair deal because like it was a lot for the Bears, just who already don't have a lot of draft capital. And I don't know who the stars were, but I mean that matches that goes over the asking price, the rumored asking price for Russell Wilson. So I mean, I'll give the Bears the fact that they tried, and then apparently, I mean, Houston isn't even taking calls right now, so they're still trying to figure that situation out. And obviously, Deshaun has the off the field stuff, so maybe now Chicago doesn't even want to bother in talks because they're not sure what's going to happen with that. Which once again, no one really knows. So I can't blame the Bears for. I mean, it seems like they're trying, but it seems like they put themselves in this hole because of some bad contracts like Mitchell, Trubisky, some other guys, that they've signed haven't really worked out. So I give them a C for effort. I'm not too upset. I won't be too
Keep in
upset.
mind, I mean, they had to cut Kyle Fuller.
Yeah.
I feel like the one strong point was their defense. Their defense is potentially getting even worse.
I mean,
apparently they Darnell Mooney. He's one of their receivers. Has been sort of promising.
Yeah.
He's about to need a contract, so there's rumors that they're gonna have to trade him. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a team that was as aggressive as they were in this Russell Wilson rumors. Now they're just sort of like mellowing out and just cutting people, and I don't know. It feels like they're probably still all in on the Deshaun Watson kind of deal, but it seems like you want to start getting those 1 year kind of veterans, like I was talking about, to try and entice an Allen Robinson to stay and become on board.
I think to piggyback on that, I think they're going to make a move. It could be on draft day. I think if they're willing to trade that for Russ, they'd be willing to give up some of that to get into the top, 5 picks and go get a quarterback. I mean, obviously that's the biggest issue. Like you said, I don't think Andy Dalton's the solution. So maybe they got to trade and go get somebody. Maybe they try to trade up to get a Justin Fields or, a Zach Wilson and say, you know what, if we're going to do something, we're going to go get our quarterback.
Which that to me even furthers my point, though. They're going to have to get rid of a lot of draft capital to do that.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do that, try to get all these like 1 year cheap, prove it, veteran deals, so that when you do move up and get that QB, you at least have some stability on the rest of the team, because you can't address that in the draft.
Yeah. And that could be a thing where they're saying, you know what, it's a 2-year process because I mean they got the running back. I think David Montgomery's shown that he's the guy.
To get
You
Tariq
know,
Cohen
I
coming
think
back too.
yeah, you got Cohen coming back. I mean they got a young who did Mooney, another receiver who kind of splashed a little bit last year. Um, so you know who knows? Maybe they're just saying you know what, let's get a quarterback. Like you said, it's gonna cost them some draft picks. So maybe they're banking on a 2-year plan. That's me being optimistic. Who knows how what they're doing because they are the Bears. We all know that. So
I just want to throw one possibility, especially if the Jets do go Zach Wilson at 2. I mean, it's possible. Maybe they go get Sam Darnold, second, third round pick for Darnold, because we saw what because maybe that's who they give the next year or two, and then have Dalton as a stopgap because once again Darnold's had injury issues, so we haven't really
yeah,
been able to see him.
I could see that. I like that.
And that
I
way you don't
actually
give up
like
much
that.
draft capital, but you kind of get somewhat of an average quarterback to see, and also a quarterback with some potential because once again haven't seen him. So I feel like that could be an option. But with the Bears, once again, I think John made a great point. Some of these teams are waiting. Some of these teams are still restructuring. It's just trying to get under the cap so they can get guys or re-sign guys. I know, like I read the Colts. For the reason why the Colts haven't been too active is because they know they got to re-sign. Uh, I'm
Quentin
blank
Nelson,
and
Braden
Darius Leonard.
Smith, Darius Leonard.
They
Yep.
got to re-sign those guys. So that's what and that's smart on them. And they I'm sure they missed. I think they offered Trent. They even tried out for Trent Williams. Like you mentioned, I think they offered him more money, but or not more. I forget what it was, but I know they went after Trent. They were in the discussion with Trent. So, but I think that was a good stopping point. Wrap it up for the free agency talk. We're going to do this earlier, but it's just so much had happened with the new tampering period, and a lot of dominoes are falling. It was just better to do this now. We'll see where some teams fall. Hopefully, my Packers get more active. Draft season's coming up, we are in draft season, but the draft is coming up. But we'll see where most of these still a lot of dominoes left to fall. A lot of solid guys, not big names, but I feel like this is. We got to the fluff of free agency. Now this is the real meat and potatoes. This is your depth. This is the guys that may step up and be great at a bargain. So we'll see what teams do. Anything else anyone wants to mention? Rowan, you got anyone to shout out? I know you got your team.
We're back in action. In the high school basketball world. Shout out to the Savage Bulldogs. Shout out to the New York Giants. I'm excited about, like you said, the draft and what's going on. So it's a good time. It's good the sports are back and at all levels, and it's just awesome to kind of be back into the mix of things.
Well, anything else, John?
Richard Sherman, Keanu Neal, Malik Hooker, all of you can come to Dallas. I'd love you. So just do it, and then don't get hurt, preferably.
Yeah, well, that's tough for some of those guys. No offense. Anyways, always a pleasure to have you, Mr. Tyrone, Coach Tyrone. Great to have you on. I'm sure everyone enjoyed it. As per usual, you can check us out on our Instagram and Facebook. Instagram at Shut Up and Ball Pod. Facebook page Shut Up and Ball. We have a Twitter too. You always hit us up there. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Same thing if you're listening. We really appreciate everyone out there's support. And as we head into the draft season, we'll be doing more draft stuff. I think next football episode, we'll do our wide receiver rankings. And then we'll go back to NBA probably next week once March Madness has died down. Like I mentioned, I will be probably reacting to some stuff on the Instagram/Facebook feed. If any upsets or crazy things happen, I happen to have tomorrow off. Let me end this on this. Ron, you working tomorrow? Or will you be tuning in to some scoreboards at around? I guess that's 1 year time.
1:00 my time.
You ready to see the
tomorrow's
upsets?
game day, so
It's tough.
1:00. I might have to take a half hour or so to kind of see what's going on in the March Madness world. But tomorrow is game day, so I won't be watching too much in the evening. But I hope to come home to some good highlights and some good upsets.
And unfortunately
That's
for you,
always what makes it fun is when you come home and you like, what? They lost? No way.
Yeah, and you got to see it's a crazy game. But fortunately for you, your Duke Blue Devils did not make it. I do apologize for that.
That didn't have to be brought up. I thought we could have
Yes,
ended
it
this
did.
without talking about that.
Listen, it's rough. Kansas ain't going to win. I mean, John's Bears got the best chance of all of us. Kansas too inconsistent.
Yeah, listen, I like Baylor. Go Baylor. I'm all for it. It's gonna be fun to see how this shakes out.
But anyways, thank you for your time as usual. Once again, thanks John for everything you're doing. I hope everyone enjoyed, and hopefully you enjoy your March Madness. Your brackets probably get busted, but let's just enjoy the chaos together, everybody. So everyone have a nice night. Enjoy your weekend.
Is that it?